Yes, cannot wait. It is going to be massive. Bledisloe 2 from Perth. Optus Stadium is sold out. Absolutely huge weekend coming your way on Stan Sport. Let's take a close look at the teams now. And big inclusion for the Wallabies hoops, Rob Valentini, but he's going to come back via the bench. Does that surprise you at all?
Well, no. I mean, with the way this back row of the Wallabies has been going, not really. I mean, it's also a good protection mechanism. You don't have to, roll him out there. And how long does he need to go? I think, Valentini has been the Wallabies' best player for some years now. And, I think this back row are doing a really great job. Tom Hooper's been amazing. Fraser's been doing his thing alongside Wilso. And that combination, like we talk about all the time, is a great multiplier, that 7 and 8 combination currently for the Wallabies. So, I mean, to bring in Bobby through the bench, it isn't a surprise. They're going to have a hell of an impact coming off the bench, being one of the best players in the world. So, really exciting for the Wallabies.
He's had such a disjointed year. If you think about the injuries that he's had through Super Rugby Pacific and then through the Wallaby Test this year,
absolutely.
It's been quite tough for him. He returns, and if you look at him on paper by stats, he's incredible. He actually still tops carries when he plays, clean outs at the ruck, attacking and defensive. But we haven't seen that same spark and probably hasn't created the same opportunities. And I think it's probably just a little bit of a fitness thing for him. So I think for Bobby to be able to let the game begin, focus on just making impact when he arrives on the park is going to be brilliant for him. He's going to come on fresh, tired legs, be able to really influence the game. I'm excited to see him play in that capacity because we haven't seen much of it over the last few years.
We are very used to seeing Rob Valentini start, and perhaps it provides a really good 1-2 punch in terms of physicality because Will Skelton is going to return and he's starting. So if you start with the physicality and the enforcer-like role of Will Skelton, you get that and then you can back it up later in the game by Rob Valentini. You think maybe that's the thinking around the selections from Joe Schmidt?
Yeah, possibly. As I said, I think it probably is just understanding physically where he's at and what's going to work best for him as a player is probably the biggest focus. Look, the return of Skelton, I think, almost sits in its own as we remember Hoops, what it was like during that Lions tour and the impact he made of just the physical impression. It's not so much with Skelts, I think, of him carrying the ball, but it's the distraction that he creates. When he goes blindside, when he makes a run, teams have to adjust. And by adjusting, you then open space for other players. And that's where I notice the biggest impact, if I can say that, of Will Skelton when he plays in the game. It's the attention that the opposition puts on a guy like him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him come off a short runway to come back into the starting side. We know he's been around the world, going here and there and everywhere. So we're going to really see that model that is the picking the overseas players tested in this and how that fits in. So, obviously super excited to see Will Skelton. He, I talked at length about this, but really sparked this Wallaby resurgence, didn't he, in Test 2 against the Lions. So great to see him back in the jersey and how that brings this team together.
That's one of the changes Joe Schmidt has made. Another is in the number 10 jersey. Tane Edmed get the chance to start again, Hoops, over James O'Connor, who's moved back to the bench. This probably takes a few people by surprise because of all the fuss made about getting James back from England for the Bledisloe swing in the 2 matches. But I guess as a young guy and Joe wants to back a young guy like Tane Edmed, another huge opportunity for him. Yeah, huge opportunity for him, really exciting. I mean, I think if you looked at the 10 jersey over the last 4 games, it's a different one each week, isn't it? So, I mean, Tommy Liner, then to James O'Connor, then to Tane rather. James O'Connor now back to Tane. So it's a little bit tricky in there. I think it is a little bit harsh on James O'Connor. It would have been, brought him back, like you said, make a fuss. I'm sure James would love to have another go in the 10 jersey this week after the last week. Joe's gone ahead, made the team, put him alongside Jake Gordon, who he's got a long history with in the Waratah jersey. So, maybe there was an element of thinking behind that. And James has also been so good off the bench for not only the Crusaders this year, but when he has come into the Wallabies, particularly finishing off games. So maybe Joe's opted for that as a strength.
Yeah, I've got mixed emotions from it all. I actually would have thought Lonergan maybe at 9 as well after him coming off the bench and performing so well at Eden Park. I'm very much of the thought process that if you look at statistically what James O'Connor's been able to achieve, take away the Eden Park game last week, he's been sensational with scoring a lot of points. Why you wouldn't start him if we've got access to him, I'm a bit confused. But Joe has always been a big picture kind of guy, hasn't he, Hoops? He's looking multiple weeks down the road. Now, we know we're going to lose James. The European tour is coming up. It's going to be vitally important for the Wallabies to perform well on that to make sure we get in that top 6 when it comes to the World Cup. Someone like Tane Admed could become very, very important. So he needs opportunity to play against the best teams in the world. I think that is the angle that Joe's coming from. And with that in mind, I can get behind it and I can support him. I also know through some personal friends, he was devastated after that performance against Argentina. Very, very hard on himself. Knew he could do better. He sets high standards for himself. He wants to be better. He's been working to improve. So he's a kid that is desperate to take that jersey and make sure he owns it. He's not scared of the challenge. And I think that's exciting for Tane Admed. But if you say that, you've got to back it up on the field this weekend. So this is the opportunity for him to put the critics to bed, come out, perform well, and make sure the Wallabies get off to a good start and give the All Blacks a big shake-up.
Well, he's got the number 10 on his back this week, so I'd say we all get him behind him and back him to get out there and do the job. Another significant change, no Corey Toole on the wing, which means Filippo Dalgunu will start. I know, Shep, you're a big fan of Filippo.
Yeah, I was surprised I didn't pick Dalgunu for Bledisloe 1. I thought he was great when he came in, and we know this time last year he was one of the first picked. He's a fantastic finisher. Yes, can be prone to make a mistake, but you know, at the moment there's probably no one out there that's playing consistently enough to not have that moniker on them. So he's going to be a big inclusion. He's certainly got the speed, but he's got the power and the physicality, which I think we're going to need, Hoops, to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think he complements that back three really well with the amount of power that he brings. And I mean, he's actually really, really good over the ball and in the breakdown. So, you know, if the All Blacks want to try and go down edges and go down his edge in particular, you know, they'll get stopped by him, and then he's going to have a real presence in those wide breakdowns, which we know in the modern game is such a pivotal part to try and get turnover. You know, the All Blacks will have less men at that breakdown, not your biggest men on the park, so it's a really good opportunity. And you know, Filippo could play back row with how good he is over the ball. So that's a really good area for the Wallabies this week.
It's the other exciting thing about what they've selected on the bench as well, with Fluke coming in and the ability we've got to massage and change that back line for the weekend. You know, Fluke coming in at 13, we know Dalgunu can play 13 as well. There's really some options there to, you know, create something different depending on how the game goes. And as you said, James O'Connor, so fantastic in that last 30 minutes of the game, depending on where we're sitting. Who knows what the Wallabies are going to roll out.
Yeah, some great points. Let's take a look at the All Black side now, because the 10 position also is of focus. No Beauden Barrett, Damien McKenzie will start at 10. How do you think that changes the All Blacks this week and, you know, the danger of New Zealand with Damien McKenzie calling the shots? Yeah,
well, we saw some of his brilliance last week, didn't we? I mean, you're talking about one of the most dangerous players in the world. At test level, it's still undecided, certainly in my mind, what his best position is. Is it 15? Is it 10? Is it 23? Because he's just the ultimate super sub in that back position. I mean, he could play halfback. This guy could play anywhere and make a difference. But is he the man that this unit, that Razor Robinson wants as their 10 in the team? That's what we're going to find out. Look, I'm a huge fan of D-Mac. I think he's an incredible player. So great for him to get the opportunity in that 10 jersey.
Yeah, I'm with Hoops. I actually think he's a 15. I don't think he's an out-and-out 10. His talents are so overwhelmingly good that at Super Rugby level he can get away with it, and he reads the game very well. But at Test level, I think he's better at 15. But you got Will Jordan sitting there, so he's not going to get picked. He does perform well when the pressure's off a little bit, though. And I think going to Perth this weekend, Bledisloe wrapped up, this is a perfect environment for D-Mac to just come out and just have fun and play. And when it clicks for him, he's sensational. You're also looking at a change at outside centre, though, with Quinton Tupai coming in. No Billy Proctor. They're teammates, right? So he's used to putting the ball in front of him, and that's going to be very consistent and,
Chiefs,
and familiar for him at the Chiefs. Exactly right. So that's another thing that I think is going to make Damien McKenzie a lot more comfortable in that 10 role. And, you know, I don't think the All Blacks lose too much by losing Beauden Barrett. I think it's just going to be a difference of attack that probably suits the players that you're bringing in. And makes any sense.
One thing that they probably strengthen is kicking at goal. Damien McKenzie seems to be much better kicking for goal than Beauden Barrett has been in recent weeks. One other change in the back line, Lester Fainga'anuku will start on the wing, his first game for the All Blacks since the 2023 Rugby World Cup. No Caleb Clark. But on the other wing, Leroy Carter, has most certainly earned the right to start again. What did you make of him last week and his change from 7s to 15s hoops?
Yeah, I mean, pretty impressive what he did last weekend. And it's not just one part of the game. He was good in attack. He was good in defence. He worked hard off the ball, created opportunity for people. Look, you see, I mean, that's to do that against Corey Tools, pretty impressive. Like, you can let him get away. So, I mean, he looks like a verified 15s player, world-class 15s player after a performance like that in the big game on a big stage. So, yeah, super impressed with what he did last week.
How key for the Wallabies is it shutting down Ardie Savea, Shep? He is an absolute talisman for the All Blacks, regardless of who they're playing against. But he had some massive involvements at Eden Park. How key for the Wallabies to shut him down?
Shutting him down's not a thing. Like, it's like saying I'm going to shut down Michael Jordan or LeBron James. You can't. You've got to try and contain these players. And Hoops, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, because as a 7, you would have been caught in this situation. But taking them out of their favourite positions in the game and not allowing them to get momentum, constantly taking them off their feet, is a really good way of doing it. Now, when we were at the Force, there was a period of time where we knew Will Genia wanted to pick up the tempo of the game. So every opportunity we had to tackle him and bring him to ground and force him to get back on his feet, we would do it. Now, these are little things that you can do to the best players in the world to try and just distract them from the parts of the game that they love. I think that's all you can really do against Ardie Savea, is try and take him out of those favourite moments, not allow him to get that excitement of attacking at the breakdown and getting a turnover, be aware when he's going to attack, and not give him easy opportunities to imprint himself on the game.
No, he's going to have impact at some points in the game. And I think what Ardie's getting better and better at, well, I mean, he's the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world. So, you know, what he's become so good at is just picking his times and having huge moments on every game that he plays in. He's not doing everything. He's doing the big things and the things that he needs to do. He conserves energy, he picks his times, he goes into that breakdown, gets a turnover, gets a result, then he'll sit out for a few, and then he'll come in with the big play. Like, his ability to read the game with where he's at his career and then bring his athleticism to it and pick his times is second to none. So, I mean, for a Wallaby side, what do? They've just got to do the things that they've got to do really well. Yes, he's going to have impact. Don't let it, be unflappable is a word that we've been talking about in here today. Be unflappable. You know he's going to get a turnover. You know he's going to bust a tackle or two. Get him to ground, get on with your job, and then try and do it again.
Yeah, you're so right. He is going to have impact in some way, shape or form in the game. So too Cam Roigard at scrum half. Absolutely outstanding at Eden Park with 2 tries. Shutting him down or limiting his impact, I imagine, also is high on the priority list for the Wallabies Hoops. Yeah,
absolutely. Best player for mine last week on the field. I thought he had huge impact over the game. Shep nailed it perfectly. What you can do to try and disrupt their flow. If they're around the ruck, can you get a hold of them? Can you get them on the ground? Make them slower to the next breakdown? Can you put some bombs on him to try and then get stuck into him as a counter ruck or things like that? Get him involved in the places that he doesn't want to get involved in. Yeah. That's going to be the key for the Wallabies this week, to take him away from the execution parts of the game he needs to do. He needs to put up bombs. He needs to catch, high balls. He needs to deliver passes onto a dime. So can you just get his head elsewhere? And that's what the Wallabies will be trying to do. They won't overdo it, but in elements they'll be thinking about it.
Love having your footy brain on Rugby Heaven. All right, just quickly, from both of you, who do you think is favourites this weekend?
Unfortunately, I think the All Blacks are going to be favourites, but there's a huge opportunity for the Wallabies, and a game they can win. Absolutely a game they can win, with so much to play for, with the Rugby Championship up for grabs if things go our way. We've got a chance, but I think we'll come in as underdogs, but that's probably a good thing in this situation.
All right, I'm going to come back to you and then quickly.
Was that quick hands?
That's quick enough. Do the Wallabies win, or who wins?
Oh, yeah. Tight game. I'd love to say the Wallabies, they win it late because they fight through it. It's been a theme the last few months, the fight to the death, and I think this weekend maybe we just see it again. So Wallabies by a couple late.
Yeah, Wallabies.
Love it. That's quick. That is quick.
Yeah, but see, you asked him second. Remember, you'd gone to him first.
We know the method with
Tim Horan method.
You're already better at quick hands than Tim Horan. Michael Hooper. Cannot wait for Bledisloe 2 coming to you from Perth. A massive weekend on Stan Sport.